to my new Blender tutorial. Today I wanna make a video for my Instagram buddy Christian, and I think he knows who I mean. And it's about Python and how I can use Python to make my life easier with Blender. Do I mean with that? Well, often you have in Blender, you have very tedious, simple tasks, but it's a lot of work and it's often very time consuming. I have an example here. I know it's not the best example, it's just an easy one that you understand it, but that you know what the problem is. Example given, you have here 4 cubes, and of course it should you have to think of these are hundreds of cubes, and you have here an empty with some animations. So if I animate this, you see the empties are moving a bit and rotating a bit. So, and now the task is the following. You want to add the modifier you have here on this cube to all these cubes. Well, you don't need Python for that. This is pretty clear. You just select all and then you say Command L and say copy modifiers. And now you see you have all of these cubes have this modifier. But what you don't have and what nobody can help you with is that you get the empty of the corresponding cube. So cube should get the empty, cube 1 should get empty 1, cube 2 should get empty 2, and cube 3 should get empty 3. What I already prepared, so it's easier in Python, I made a collection out of these cubes, and I made a collection with these corresponding empties. And now I want to change this array so that the object here changed to the right empty. I hope this is understandable. And of course you have to think of, you have hundreds of them, and then you would need 1 or 2 hours to change them all. But in Python it is quicker. How do I do this in Python? Okay, I start here with script. I press here new, so I get a new Python text editor, and now I can enter here my Python commands. And the first thing you always need, or nearly always need, if you do something with Blender, you need to import the Blender library. And this is called BPY, which stands for Blender Python. So then you can access all Blender commands. Now we want to do the following. We want to loop over collection 2, read these cubes as get these objects, and then we want to assign these empties to the corresponding cubes here. How do we do this? Well, first in Blender you can access data or try out commands if you just put here commands in. So if you start with BPY, press dot and then you press tab, you see all commands which are possible here. So BPY, and then I say data, and if I press now tab again, you see now what I can do here with data. Of course I cannot explain you this all, you can read this in the documentation, but what I can tell you is you can access all objects by BPY data, and then you go to objects and then you call them by name. Example given this, and now you see I got this cube here. And how can I prove that this is a cube? Because if I output the name, you will see I get a cube. And the same I can of course do for cube dot 001. Now I got cube 01. But I can do this a little bit more intelligent by looping over the contents of a collection. This I can do with a for loop. So if I say for e, which is my index, and object is the object I get from the loop, so cube 1, cube 2, and so on. And now I say in enumerate, which is a Python command for looping over the contents which is in the brackets of the enumerate command. So now I need bpy data, and as I showed you here, the same as I can access the objects, I can access the collections. So I say collection from collection to. It's important that you have here the right wording, and also caps is important. So write this correct or it won't work. And now I have the collection, but I need the object inside of it. So I say all objects. This is already my command for the for loop. And now I want to change the array here. How can I do this? Well, the good thing is that Blender supports us very much with Python. If you say here Python tooltips, you will get here the information what is the name of it. You see here bpy data objects cube modifiers array and then offset object. But instead of typing this, you can also just change this. So we change it to empty one, and watch this here in the Blender info console, which you can see here is info. If you change this opens automatically. If you press here on scripting, you can see the command which is used to change here the empty, and this is just this command here. You can select it, press Ctrl C to copy it, and then you can paste it here in the text editor. It's important that the cursor is in the text editor, else it won't paste it here. And now you see that's the modifier array. Lucky for us, it's named always array if you add the array modifier the first time, so it's always the same name, so we can use this. And now we want to assign the offset object, which is white, but not with empty2, but with the white one, corresponding one here. That's why we took here the I and the enumerate, so we know the index of the object. And now we can access the object in the other collection. How do we do this? Well, very easy. bpy data, and then we say collections. But this time, of course, we need the collection of the empties. Oops, I should spell it right. So now I use the entry of this. And because in the first one, if it's cube, I is 0, so we can just access object 0. So we just say here all objects, and then we type in here I, and that's all. And watch now what happens if I run this. Now it should be repaired. Let's check it. Cube 0 is empty 3, which is wrong. Cube 1 is empty, which is wrong. Cube 2 is empty, which is wrong. Okay, something went wrong here. Always a good idea is print statement. So we print out here our index to see whether it's the right index. And a second command, we try to print out the object here. And then we run again. And to see what happens, you need to go to the command shell. And here I see everything's right. 0, 1, 2, 3, and it's empty, empty 1, 2, 3. So it should have worked. No, of course not, because here I say bpy contents object, which means it only changes the object which is selected right now. So it just changes this one. But we need, of course, to change each object. So instead of bpy context object, we need object modifiers, which is the object we filled in here. And if I run now, you see now this looks good. Now cube has empty, cube 1 has empty 1, cube 2 empty 2, and cube 3 empty 3. and now I have this nice animation which I wanted to have if they don't have all the same empty. And basically you can get the information from nearly everything in Blender. Whatever you want to do, you can automate. So just an example given, I add here particles and I want to change the number for each one in the collection. You just hover over it and you see it's VPY data particles, particle settings, dot count. And with this you can change it. And I think that's immense and powerful what Python can do here, and to make your workflows much quicker than any tools, or of course if you do it manually, because tools often just use workflows which are very often and very common and a lot of users use it. But often if you make things in Blender, you need things which are specifically yours, and then a very small Python script is very handy. I hope you learned something, I hope you like it. Have fun. Bye.